Located on the island of Pulau Penang, Malaysia, in a remote village known as the End of the World, is an animal shelter as unique as they come. You won't find rows of caged animals who have lost their spirit, but instead, nearly 2 acres of a dog's life. This is Barbara Janssen, a retired expat from Germany. But Barbara's definition of retirement has come to mean something far different from a life of sipping cocktails on a beach of warm, sugary sand as turquoise waves lap at your feet. Barbara has dedicated her retirement, her life savings, and the second half of her life to rescuing dogs from the streets of Penang.
PAWS is actually a Penang Animal Welfare Society, and that means it's an animal shelter for dogs that nobody wants. There's a big need here in Penang because we don't have a safe place to put our animals when we are moving away, when we have to move into an apartment. Then there's no safe place for animals here. So I'm trying to fill out that gap.
Filling that gap wasn't in Barbara's original retirement plans. Far from it. She was planning to live it up and relax. In 2009, she bought a beautiful apartment in Penang, but just a few days later, her plans were interrupted by a calling, one that threw her plans for a life of luxury, literally, to the dogs.
One evening we were sitting in a restaurant and I saw 2 abandoned puppies on the roadside. I said, oh my God, what is that? 2 puppies on the roadside. I was jumping up and whipped the puppies and say, somebody lost his puppies, somebody lost his puppies. And the people around, they had showed no action. And I say, why nobody's coming here? There are some beautiful puppies, what is going on? And they say, these are strays. And I said, what is a stray? I've never heard that word before. This is a street dog. What is a street dog? And they say, no, a street dog means they have no home. So somebody abandoned them. And then I say, cannot be. So I ran around and asked everybody, and I found out that these dogs were really thrown on the roadside. The owner left his house with the mother dog and left the puppies simply on the place. I took them in, and as I was not allowed to take them into my apartment, I sold my just newborn apartment. I sold immediately, and I went into a rented place. And this is how it started. And then from 2 dogs were 3 dogs, and 4 dogs were 12 dogs. When I moved in here, I was on 46 dogs. And now I'm on more than 300.
300 dogs cared for by Barbara and a dedicated team of full-time and volunteers who provide care to the dogs. The dogs are fed and watered like clockwork, even getting chicken and rice several times a week. The compound is cleaned of droppings regularly, and when a dog is ill, it goes to the vet. If a dog is suffering and can't be treated, Barbara makes the difficult decision to euthanize. And Barbara is always eager to adopt out the dogs to people who prove they can and will care for them. I asked Barbara if anyone's ever called her crazy for doing this.
Nobody here in Penang ever said that I'm crazy or this is a crazy thing. They all nearly on knees. They always say it's like from heaven sent. They really appreciate what I'm doing. All my family members, friends, they are all very, very proud, especially after Christmas when I was in New York Times.
The New York Times put PAWS on the international stage in December 2013, telling the world about Barbara, her team, and their growing 4-legged family living in the Telopohong village on the island of Penang. Barbara looks at her role as a mentor, if not a matriarch, to her team. A role she feels as equally important as her role to the animals.
This is an animal shelter, but it's also a station for life here. Because when I see at my worker here, they are coming from a small village. They are now quite well educated meanwhile. They are able to talk English meanwhile. They are able to do a lot of work, what is also very important for their future life. They are much better prepared for life. This is co-production here. It's not only for the dogs, it's a life. You know, all my experience I give to them and they make something gorgeous out of it, and this is perfect.
Since the beginning, Barbara has largely funded PAWS on her own, rapidly whittling away at her retirement. The monthly cost to operate PAWS is about 20,000 Malaysian ringgit, or nearly 6,000 US dollars. Thanks to generous support from kind-hearted people around the world, Barbara isn't footing the entire bill on her own anymore. PAWS humbly accepts cash donations, food, veterinary services, contract labor, and pet supplies. Recently, Barbara was attending a fundraiser for PAWS hosted at one of Penang's luxury hotels. She sat with her friend Rebecca and enjoyed a cocktail for the first time in years.
And I was sitting there and was looking at the sea and this beautiful environment around me, and I said to Rebecca, can you imagine that this was my life before? We were traveling around, we were living in 5-star hotels all over the world. We were enjoying our holidays 3-4 times a year. I had a beautiful sports car, everything. That was my life before. And then she looked at me and said, and? And I say, I never regret that I have changed it. I have never been, see my hair comes up. I have never been so happy in my life like now with all the dogs. And I had everything. I don't need that anymore. It hasn't made, I was never so happy. I'm happy from inside, and I think I live my dream, and this is more than other people can say from themselves, isn't it? I live my dream. It's a dream.
Are you okay?
Yeah, just lather him all over. Just yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. Good.